Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to this bonus lesson. Alright, so I have a question from one of our students who enrolled in this course, and it's by Jason. And Jason said, "Hey, great course. My second of yours I've completed." And Jason has two questions for us. Okay, for me. So he says that I noticed that if you enter incorrectly on the login page, an incorrect username or password, when we hit the submit button, we will see some errors on the label. So the error label is shown. However, is there a way to hide this once a user start to type again in the fields? Alright, so I want to show you how we can resolve this. And his second question is that any guidance on how we could have a clickable icon in the text fields that will erase any text that was in before the previous try. So it says currently if you make a mistake and go back to try again, you're left with the old text in the fields. All right, so Jason, we are also going to fix this as well. So let me show you how we can do this. All right, so if you see at the back, I have my Xcode already turned on, and let me just quickly show you what I think Jason meant by that. All right, so let's launch this. So let's imagine I start to click on type in some random stuff, and when I hit the login button, obviously I'm going to get an error message because this information here is not valid, and also because I'm not connected to the Firebase correctly. Okay, but that is not important for us to show you this scenario. So I think what Jason means is that when I click over here and I try to hit the back button, can we just remove this, because as you know, the user is trying to resubmit those credentials again. Okay, so that's for his first question. Okay, and the second question is that could there be a clickable icon in the text field that would remove all the text? So I think the concern is that the user will still have to click this back button multiple times to get rid of everything. So let's address the second issue first. So yes, Jason, there's a way for us to clear everything in the text fields. And that is, okay, so we come over to the main.storyboard here first, and then let's come over to the different text fields over here. So I'm on the email text field right now, I've selected it. And then let's open this property inspector over here. So if this right panel is closed, just click on this to open this up. And then if you're on the latest version of Xcode, currently I'm on 12.2 beta, you should see this icon over here. If you're on the older version of Xcode, it should be the third icon from the right. So this panel should appear very similarly as well. Okay, so what we need is this property over here that says clear button. So currently it's set to never appear. So what we can do is that we can just change this. And I prefer to use appears while editing. So let's select this. You can feel free to experiment with the rest of the options, but I think this works for this use case. And then let's do the same for this one as well. So appears while editing, as well as the password confirmation text view. Okay. All right. So I'm going to show you what this does. So let me just quickly rerun the simulator one more time. Okay, so let's hit the get started button, and I'm going to just type in some random stuff over here. And you notice that there's this X icon over here that's given to us for free. Okay, so when I hit on this button, it clears everything within the text field, and this will happen also for the password text field as well. All right, so we have solved the second problem over here. So let's try to fix the first one, okay, which is how can we clear the error label once the user starts to type in something over here. All right. Okay, so the way we have to do this is to observe the text fields. So what it means is that when we observe that the user is typing something in the text field, we want to ensure that we remove this error label. Okay, so we come over to the login view controller. All right, I think this is the place. Okay, so we have to observe the activity within the text field, and I'm going to show you how we can do that. There are a couple of ways to do this, but I think based on the current iOS version, the best way to do this, in my opinion, is to use the combine framework. Okay, so let's do it over here. So the first thing we want to do is to import combine. Okay, let me just expand this to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so we have imported combine. So under view did load, we want to observe the text field. So let's do observe text fields. Okay, let's do plural because we are observing multiple text fields. Okay, so what we can do is that let's create this private function over here. So private func observe text fields, and the way we're going to observe it is to use something called notification center. Whoops, I forgot this one. So we're going to do notification center dot default, okay, dot add I think it's publisher. All right, so let's select this one over here, publisher for name. Okay, so the signature is that it returns a notification center dot publisher. So let's select this one. Okay, and the notification name will be UI text field dot text change notification. Okay, so this is the notification that we want to listen to, this event that we want to listen to when the text did change inside this UI text field. And what we need to do is that we need to call the sync method, the sink. So we want to select this one over here. So as you can see, there are two methods that you can use. So if I'm to scroll to the second one, notice that it comes with this subscriber.completion never. All right, so we're not going to use this one because this one will account for some other events as well. We want to use the very basic one, which is the first one over here. All right, so it should look like that to you. Okay, this is the signature. Okay, so let's click on this one, and then right now this is a closure, so I'm going to hit the enter button, and then I'm going to say notification. Okay, so what this means is that every time the text field changes, when there's a text that change, we will receive some kind of notification from the notification center. Okay, so what we need to do is that we need to get the text field from the notification. Okay, so if you type in notification.object, notice that this is of type any. All right, so basically I'm going to say let text field equals to notification.object, but we have to cast this as a text field. All right, so let's do it this way. Okay, and then I can just print this out. Okay, so text field dot text. Okay, whoops, does this work? It should. Let me see. Oh, sorry, it's UI text field, my bad. So it's text field dot text. So what we're saying is that, hey, every time we receive an event, we want to cast this notification object as a text field. All right, so what this means is that because we are using the question mark, that means that there is a chance that text field can be nil. Okay, how do I know that? I can hold on to the alternate button on my keyboard and click on this, and you notice that the type is a UI text field optional. So what it means is that there is a chance that it can be nil. All right, so why is that? Why is that so? That's because if, let's say, I cast this to an UI image, then obviously this will become a nil because I have not listened to any UI image based on this notification. Okay, so I hope that explains. Okay, so very simply, I think this piece of code is going to work, but we are still lacking something. So as you can see over here, we have the publisher, but we also need a subscriber. Okay, so we have to create a subscriber at the top. So let's come all the way to the top over here, and let's create a private var subscriber. So this is any cancelable. All right, so this is the way that we have to structure the code. Okay, this is just based on the compile framework syntax. Okay, so I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to come down to the bottom, and I have to assign this to the publisher. So I'm going to say subscriber equals to notification center dot default dot publisher. All right, so we need to do it this way. Okay, so right now I'm going to just hit the play button to run the simulator, and let's see what this this chunk of code that we have just written, how will it work for us. Okay, so right now I have my my console at the bottom over here. So just make sure that we want to toggle the console that's on the right hand side and not the left hand side one. And then if I start to type in something over here, notice that I have whatever that's inside the text field being printed out. Okay, and notice that when I come to the password field and when I type in, I get these things printed out as well. So the question is, hey, how do I differentiate? Because if, let's say, my view controller has 10 different text fields, then all of that will be printed out like that, and I won't be able to tell which which belongs to which. Okay, so this is not really relevant to our use case, but I'm going to show you anyway because I think that you can learn something from this. So let me show it to you how I can illustrate this to you. Okay, so I have this text view over here, so I'm going to do a switch statement. Okay, so I'm going to switch the text view. Okay, but obviously I can't do this because this is an optional text view. So what I need to do is to unwrap this. All right, so as you know, if this is an optional, you have to unwrap it. And there are two ways to unwrap it. You either use the if let or the gut statement. So I personally prefer the gut statement, so I'm going to use that. So gut let else return. Okay, so now that I've unwrapped it already, I can do a switch statement. So it will be text view. Okay, so we are going to switch through the text view. So imagine if you have, so okay, for our case, we have how many text views? So we have 3 different text views: email, password, and password confirmation. But maybe for this example, I'm just interested in two of them only. Maybe the email text view as well as the password text view. All right, so I'm going to switch through these two. So I'm going to do case this, and then case, we have the other one, which is the password text view. So like that over here. Okay, so I'm going to say that, hey, if this comes from the email text view, then I'm going to just put this like that. And then maybe, you know what, let's just create the text over here. Let text equals to text view dot text. All right, so I'm going to say that, hey, if this is coming from the email text view, I'm going to print out with this prefix over here. Otherwise, I'm going to do it this way, and I'll use the password text view as a prefix. Okay, so I'm going to remove this. And because we are switching through a text view and not an enum, and therefore there could be unlimited cases. All right, so the way we have to do this is to have a default statement over here, a default case. And what it means is that if this text view is neither email text view nor password text view, then we would want to break. Okay, basically break says let's not do anything, let's get out of this this switch statement. Okay, so this is looking fine, but again, there's a bit of a complaint over here. Why is that so? It's because we are in a closure. All right, so this is a closure. Okay, so what we need to do is to actually have an unowned self over here. Okay, so this is basically a weak self, so that we don't get a what you call a retain cycle. All right, so we can do let's see, self dot email text view and self dot password text view. All right, guys, if you are curious about retain cycle, I think there are a couple of resources on YouTube that talks about that. But the whole idea is that you have two different child that is owning each other, that has a cross reference, and therefore when you have a retain cycle, that means that you are having the risk of a memory leak, which means that your app might crash if it reaches certain buffer. Okay, so right now I've set up this, and I'm going to just run the simulator again. All right. Okay, let's wait a little while. Let's go to get started, and I'm going to start typing something in the email text field. So notice that this is showing up as the email text field. All right, and then over here, as I type this, I get the password text field. So you want to make a guess what happens if I do print. Okay, this is really out of scope, but I'm just going to show you this anyway. So guess what's going to happen when I put print over here? Okay, I'm going to show you. Okay, so this is something quite interesting as well. All right, sorry guys, I digress a little bit, but I thought that these are really good lessons that can really solidify your understanding. Okay, so want to make a guess what happens? How can I trigger this default? Okay, the way I can do it is if I come to the sign up. Okay, because what this means is that it's neither the email, it's neither the password text field, so it must be this one over here. All right, so I believe that this should work. All right, yeah, so I'm right. Okay, guys, so what's going to happen is that because we don't really care whether the user is typing on this text field or the password text field to remove the error label. So what it means is that we don't really need to use the switch statement. Okay, so what I can say is that what I can do is that I can say error. I think it's show error label, right? Show error message if needed. So currently this is the function at the bottom. So it will be hidden if the text is nil. Okay, so this is how you read this. So what we can do is that I can just set this to be nil, and this should work. Okay, so let me just quickly remove those empty spaces, and let me just hit the play button. Okay, so to address Jason's first question, is there a way to hide the error label once the user starts to type again in the fields? Yep, I believe this is the solution. So let's go with some random email, okay, .com, and then some random password that's obviously invalid. So let's hit the login button, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to just hit the backspace once, and notice what happens to the error label. It's missing. All right, that's cool, right? So another thing I can do to erase this is I can just hit this X button over here, and that should work as well. Alright, Jason, I hope that this tutorial is helpful, and I hope that the rest of the students get to learn something from this exercise. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you soon. Cheers! Hey students, sorry I'm back again. So I realized that there's something that we could improve in this code, and I realized that over here this text field is not being used, alright, and therefore we have a warning over here. So this warning is not going to crash your app. Your app is still going to run as per normal, just that it's not a good coding practice. All right, so if we don't need this value, then what we can do is to just replace this with an underscore, and when we do that, the warning will not happen anymore. All right, so that's all I have for you guys. Cheers.